back to Vintage Disney here on Brian's Things That Are Cool. A couple of years ago, I did a review of Disney's 1988 remake of Davy Crockett called Davy Crockett, Rainbow and the Thunder. The 2-hour TV movie starred Johnny Cash as an older Davy looking back on his early years and acted as a pilot for a proposed new series based on the life of Davy Crockett. The preceding 4 episodes produced didn't start a new wave of Crockett mania for Disney, and the series has since fallen into obscurity. Rainbow and the Thunder came close to recapturing the fun of the original Fess Parker series, and of course Johnny Cash being part of it didn't hurt.
Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee.
But what about the rest of the series? No Man in Black in the remaining 4 episodes, sadly, but Tim Dunigan and Gary GRUBBS are back as a younger Davy and Georgie, so let's catch up with the guys in Davy Crockett, A Natural Man. Davy Crockett, A Natural Man was directed by Charles Braverman and originally aired on December 18, 1988. We open with Davy and Georgie Russell doing what they did best, hunting. The entire series is set at the time Davy was one of the Tennessee Volunteers during the Creek War of 1813. While the real Davy did see battle during this campaign, he preferred hunting wild game for the soldiers over killing Creeks. While out hunting, Georgie is attacked by a bear, and Davy is forced to scare it off when his gun doesn't work. Georgie heads back to camp while Davy goes after the bear. While out in the woods, he runs into a mountain man who turns out to be his uncle, Jimmy Crockett, who vanished 20 years earlier after a deadly attack by a Native American tribe. Jimmy Crockett, played by Barry Corbin, is most likely a fictional character. I've never come across any story like the one portrayed in this episode, and the closest Jimmy Crockett in Davy's family tree was James Crockett, who was the son of Antoine Crocketane, who had fled France in the 1600s due to religious persecution and settled in Ireland, where he changed his name to assimilate. Unless he lived to be over 200 years old, Jimmy probably never met Davy in the woods in 1813. Though Davy did have a brother named James Patterson Crockett, who died 2 years before Davy's last stand at the Alamo. Jimmy and Davy head back to camp where Jimmy is forced to take a bath. And while they were gone, Georgie has taken a liking to the young woman treating his wounds, named Mary Ann, played by Molly Hagan. When Davy asks him to go back out hunting, Georgie fakes a fever to get better acquainted with Mary Ann. So Davy goes back out with Jimmy. While out in the woods, Jimmy uses marbles to find their way on the path. Davy thinks it's all nonsense and ignores the marbles, taking the wrong path, where he's promptly bitten by a snake. Jimmy takes Davy back to camp to get treated and heads over to the tavern for a round of beer. It's here Jimmy starts telling the soldiers about knowing where to find gold, which gets the soldiers riled up, and in his weakened state, Davy tries to calm the tensions but ends up getting in a fight with the soldiers. After Georgie gets more than he's bargained for when Mary Ann thinks he's going to marry her, a soldier is attacked by a Creek warrior. Jimmy's son, as it turns out, is a half-breed named Eyes Like Sky, due to his blue eyes, who hates his father and his white half in general. The attack leads the soldiers to take revenge on a Creek camp where Davy stops a soldier from killing one of the Creeks. Meanwhile, Davy's half-breed cousin goes after Georgie, but Davy saves him and tries to make peace with Eyes Like Sky.
Dying for nothing or fighting a doomed cause ain't honor, boy. Choices, plain and simple. Now, you can choose to stay here and fight the white man. Or you can take your daddy's lead and you can head west. Start a new life for yourself. I got my druthers, but it doesn't matter what I say. What I do say is this. You'll not die by my hand. And if that's mercy, you make the most of it.
The episode wraps up with Georgie finding out Mary Ann has decided to leave, and Davy gets a message from his uncle saying he found the gold he was searching for. The next episode, Davy Crockett, Guardian Spirit, was directed by television director Harry Falk and originally aired on January 13, 1989. It's early morning at the Volunteers camp. Davy is having a shave as Georgie is just waking up. Georgie starts telling Davy about this new cologne he bought that's supposed to attract women but smells absolutely putrid.
They've done studies, you know. 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Just as one of the soldiers rides in, saying a group of Creek warriors have been spotted. Given the time of year, Davy recognizes that they're most likely gathered for the Green Corn Ceremony, or busk, which was a Native American ceremony to celebrate the beginning of the annual corn harvest. Major Benteen, played by Gary Chalk, sees that a large gathering of warriors and chiefs would be the perfect time to attack and get rid of the creek problem once and for all. As they must follow his orders, Davy and Georgie are sent out to gather information for the Major. While out in the woods, they spot a young creek boy alone by a campfire. He's there for his guardian spirit ritual, a coming-of-age ceremony where he's to get in touch with his guardian spirit and return to his tribe as a man and receive his name. Not wanting to disrupt his ritual, Davy and Georgie decide to head back to camp. And despite seeing a group of warriors walking in the woods on the way to the busk, they plan to tell the Major they didn't see anything to avoid him following through on his plan to attack a spiritual ceremony like the busk. But just as they're en route back to camp, they see a wolf heading in the direction where the boy was having his guardian spirit ritual. Davy saves the boy by killing the wolf, convincing the boy that Davy is his guardian spirit. A watcher from the boy's tribe goes back to tell the boy's father that the ritual was interrupted. So Georgie and Davy are forced to bring the boy back to their camp. Davy and Major Benteen have dinner with the boy, where the Major tries to get the boy to tell him where the busk will take place. But the boy doesn't speak English. Knowing Davy speaks the language of the creek, he demands Davy ask the boy. But Davy just asks him what he thinks of the Major, then tells the Major the boy doesn't know anything. The Major wants him gone, but Davy convinces him to give him one more day. Davy is sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place here, as if the boy tells him where the busk is, it would likely lead to the slaughter of all of the soldiers. And if he doesn't, the Major would order the boy to stand before a firing squad. Georgie wonders why Davy is worried, as killing the Creeks is the entire reason they're there, but Davy says there are things that are right and things that are wrong, clearly mirroring the real Davy's motto of be sure you're right and go ahead. With not many options left, Davy takes the boy into the woods and reluctantly tells him to go back to his father. Before the boy can get far, he's captured by Major Benteen's men and put in the stockades back at the camp. To get him out, Davy comes up with a plan to have Georgie thrown in the stockades as well, so he can assist him in breaking him out. Davy uses some of Georgie's disgusting-smelling cologne to douse the officer guarding the stockade, allowing him to pretend he'll watch it while he goes to clean up.
This is worse than the time the raccoon got in the copier. Yeah.
The jailbreak is a success, but the Major is angry and sends his men after the boy. Davy tries to get the boy to tell him how to reach his father, but the boy can only say that he has no father, no people, and no name, as he never met the guardian spirit and the ritual was a failure. Just then, the Major and his men show up, thinking they have the upper hand, but a group of Creek warriors show up and attack. The Major is shot in the arm by an arrow, as his men are slaughtered. Davy comes to after the attack and tells Georgie he can't see. Unwilling to let his blindness stop him, he demands Georgie help him take the boy back to his father. As the boy shows up with Davy and Georgie, his father is told that Davy is blind. In a test, the chief hits Davy and comes at him with a heated-up tomahawk, only to stop before he strikes. The boy's father is not only convinced that Davy is indeed blind, but that he is the boy's guardian spirit. The boy is now a man in his father's eyes, and he receives his name, Goliath. With the boy returned to his father and his guardian spirit ceremony completed, Georgie leads Davy back to camp, just as Davy lets Georgie know that his blindness might have all been a trick to get Georgie to agree to take the boy back to his father.
Careful that root there, I don't want you to trip and hurt yourself.
Thank you kindly, Dave.
Crockett, you are a dreadful person. You're going to pay for this, you know? People can't lie to their chums like that and not pay. I mean it. You're going to pay and pay and pay. Don't that concern you none?
Davy Crockett, A Letter to Polly, also came to us from director Harry Falk and originally aired on June 11th, 1989. Once again, Georgie and Davy are out in the woods. Not hunting this time, they're out scouting a mission for Major Benteen. They're attacked by a small group of Creek warriors, and Davy and Georgie are able to take 3 of them out. As a 4th warrior begins to advance on them, Davy sees and hears a ghostly figure of a woman calling for him, and blanks out, making Georgie have to take care of the attacking warrior. Back at the camp, Davy makes his report to Major Benteen, saying he needs a break to see his wife and kids, just as he has another vision of the ghostly woman. It's implied that this ghostly apparition is Davy's own yearning for his beloved wife Polly, and not her actual ghost. The real Davy met Polly at a harvest festival in 1806, and married shortly afterwards, having 3 children. Polly died of milk sickness in March of 1815, 7 months after the end of the Creek War, which is the campaign depicted in the show. Unlike the Fess Parker Davy Crockett series, Polly's death is never addressed here. Major Benteen reminds Davy that he's not allowed to leave while they're still in an active war. Meanwhile, Georgie is arguing with a woman at the camp over purchasing a cooking pot. She mentions a traveling peddler in the area, and when Georgie finds Davy writing a letter to Polly and his kids, he mentions the peddler may be able to deliver the letter. Davy gets permission from Major Benteen to take 3 days off to find the peddler so he can get his letter mailed. On the way to find the peddler, he stumbles upon a cabin where the family has all been killed in an attack by the Creeks, except for a small boy named Aaron, who is so traumatized by what he saw he can't speak. Davy takes Aaron with him and tries to calm his fears. Back at camp, time is running out for Davy's furlough, and Georgie contemplates stealing one of the horses to go out and find Davy. Meanwhile, Davy and the boy hear the screams of a woman in the woods. It turns out to be a Creek woman in labor. Just as Davy successfully delivers the baby, the woman's husband, a Creek warrior, runs at Davy with a knife, not knowing what Davy's intentions are. Aaron finds his voice and yells out Davy's name. The situation is quickly diffused and the warrior returns to his wife and newborn son. Seeing this sparks anger in Aaron, who just lost his entire family, and Davy knows he needs to get the boy on the right path. They stumble upon the Bigstead family, whose wagon has gotten stuck as they were leaving to head back east. After Davy and Aaron help get them back on track, he explains the boy's situation and asks if they care for the boy, and the Bigsteads agree. Davy and Aaron have their goodbyes, but Aaron tells Davy he's going to come back one day for revenge on the Creeks. In his parting words, Davy sets the boy right.
You're telling me you're going to come back here some kind of killer. And you're proud of it. I don't never want to see that, boy.
But what if something happened to you? Wouldn't you want your boys looking to get even?
I'd hope that somebody'd tell them what a heavy thing they're carrying. Too heavy for a young boy's shoulders, I'd say.
Finally back on the path he had set out on, Davy runs into 2 soldiers who tell him the peddler he's looking for has already left. Unable to mail his letter, Davy makes his way back to camp where he's criticized by Major Benteen for risking his life for a letter that never got sent. Davy tells him to read the letter, and through Davy's words, the Major sees the true importance of family and the need to know that they're taken care of. Seeing Davy put the Major in his place so eloquently prompts a perfect response from the men. The 5th and final episode, Davy Crockett Warriors Farewell, was directed by James Quinn and originally aired on June 18, 1989. The print I was able to find of Davy Crockett Warriors Farewell opens with one of Michael Eisner's intros from the magical world of Disney, coming to you from Walt Disney World's then brand new MGM Studios. So new, in fact, it's still being built. A great little piece of history that really makes me nostalgic for those days. A Creek medicine man is seen atop a mountain above Davy's camp performing some sort of ritual just as an earthquake occurs. Major Benteen informs Crockett of a new civilian visiting the camp named Callahan, who's looking to showcase a Ferguson rifle, a powerful rifle used during the Revolutionary War by the British that fired more rounds per minute than standard guns of the period, but was ultimately deemed too expensive. Meanwhile, Georgie, who saw the medicine man atop the mountain, goes to investigate, where he runs into 2 women who also saw the medicine man. The younger of the 2, Amy, played by Sherry Stoner, claims he was putting a curse on the camp, and soon fear spreads around the camp. Sherry Stoner may not be instantly recognizable to Disney fans, but as the live-action reference model for the characters of Ariel in The Little Mermaid and Belle in The Beauty and the Beast, her place in Disney history is secure. Sherry would go on to a highly successful career as a voice actress, most notably as the voice of Slappy Squirrel on Animaniacs.
That stuff will look great in the promos.
While Georgie is left to deal with all the panic, Davy sets out with Callahan and Lieutenant North, who's rather self-important and narcissistic, and has already had an exchange with Georgie in a previous episode.
The only thing that'll send you back to Georgia, Mr. Russell, is an official release from service signed by General Andrew Jackson himself.
I met that young fella's mother once. She couldn't hunt worth a lick, but she could fetch, roll over, and sit up with the best of them.
Davy gets first crack at testing the rifle, and as the master marksman that he is, he effortlessly hits the target. Not wanting to be shown up, the pompous lieutenant takes aim at a mountain lion and misses it, though he claims to have hit it. Back at camp, Georgie has been tasked with speaking at a meeting about seeing the man on top of the mountain before the earthquake, and shows Davy a picture he drew of the man, which Davy confirms to indeed be a medicine man. Tensions with the Creeks have been dying down, and any sort of attack would reignite the conflict. Lieutenant North has informed Callahan where the medicine man is, and Callahan tricks Davy into going with him. When they come across the medicine man on a rock in the middle of the river performing another ritual, Callahan attempts to kill the unarmed medicine man, but Davy saves him. This ritual turns out to have been a purification ritual, which Native Americans would do before and after battles. Davy isn't sure which one it was, so he brings Callahan to the Creek camp, where he confirms to his relief that the medicine man was purifying the land after the battle. The earthquake was a coincidence, and the Creek War is over. As a show of peace, Davy breaks the Ferguson rifle over his knee. For those back at the camp, the fear over curses and other silly superstitions are put to rest, and the Tennessee volunteers can head home to their families. And Davy even comes up with a fitting punishment for Lieutenant North for telling Callahan where to find the medicine man.
You'll do nothing to me, Crockett. You are who you are, and I'm a man of high goals, high places.
Well, high places are in your future, Lieutenant. No question about it.
Help me down, please. Soldier! Please help me down.
In the vast timeline of Disney remakes throughout film and television, success can be rare. For every Parent Trap or Freaky Friday, you get a Shaggy Dog or Snow White. But in the case of the New Adventures of Davy Crockett, sometimes they may not do well in their initial run, but are a nice little hidden gem when discovered years later. If I were to guess as to why the New Adventures of Davy Crockett was so short-lived, I'd probably point to its dramatic tone, which may not have attracted kids like the 1955 original did. The Fess Parker version brilliantly broke Davy's life down into 3 segments, keeping the historical accuracy front and center, but also having fun and teaching endearing life lessons. The remake chose to focus on fictional Crockett exploits while telling them in a realistic way. The men are unshaven, the camp is muddy and dirty, and it feels like they're really there, but it's anything but accurate. If fiction was the way they had planned to go, why not go all out and include some of the more fantastical elements that are part of Crockett lore? Maybe borrow a few things from James Kirk Paulding's 1831 play, The Lion of the West, featuring the character Nimrod Wildfire, the half-horse, half-alligator frontiersman, based on the real Davy. Or even some of the tall tales published shortly after Davy's death at the Alamo, like riding a lightning bolt, or grabbing a comet by the tail and throwing it back into the sky. But for what we did get, it's done very well, and there's still just enough comical moments to keep it entertaining. In my review of the pilot, Rainbow and the Thunder, I talked about how well Tim Dunnigan did capturing the handsome, square-jawed, heroic aesthetic of Fess Parker, and that's certainly true for the rest of the series. I'd even say he's one of my 3 favorite Davies on film, under Fess Parker and Billy Bob Thornton, of course. While fictional, the stories are engaging and teach important lessons, without ever feeling too preachy. Through its down-home storytelling and Americana-style score, The New Adventures of Davy Crockett may be a forgotten title, but it's definitely deserving of being rediscovered and finding itself as part of the legend of the King of the Wild Frontier. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my look at The New Adventures of Davy Crockett. I've included a link in the description box for my review of the pilot, If you'd like to be kept up to date as to when I release a new video, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. And if you really want to be notified, hit that bell as well. I'm Brian, and I'll see you next time on Vintage Disney.